Congratulations, coach. Neat shot for the cutback. You alluded to some of the changes there. Could you particularly talk us through the decision to play Tembi out wide and start a different striker? What was the thinking behind that?
Look, we knew there was a lot of physicality, and we knew that the fullbacks, especially Alozi, is always bombs forward. And we thought if we played Tembi on that side, they'd think twice of not bombing forward, because playing Tembi into space and then taking on the defenders, I thought Ronald held the ball up well for us. We wanted to just go as physical as they were, and I mean, she was lead up into that first goal, with holding the ball up fantastically in everything that we did, up front. And we just thought we'll change it a bit, and see how they change. And of course they didn't push the fullbacks up as they wanted to, because we had Hugh on the other side as well, and we had Tembi, so that worked well for us. Of course, as the game went on, they needed to push them a little bit higher up, and that created the spaces that we were looking for.
Coach, congratulations on your victory against Nigeria. My name is Samuel Agban, I write for Second News Nigeria. Every game between South Africa and Nigeria is beyond football. What was the motivation? What was the message to your team going up against Nigeria in this game?
We said that it's more than just a qualifying match, because it's two of the big guns, former winners of the last two WAFCONs, but for us the motivation was more than to go through to the next phase of the World Cup. We don't need more motivation than that. It didn't matter who we played, the motivation was the same, and I think the game got bigger than what it is or was because of Nigeria being the opponent. But we wanted to put ourselves in a position where we had another chance, and I think the way we took the game and the way we took it away from them at times, and the way we controlled the position. I've spoken about controlling the position better. I've spoken about being better in the transition to defend. I've also been better in the transition to attack, being clinical in front of goal. I think a lot of that came together today. I thought defensively, even with the long ball, even when they brought up Gift on, they brought Umeru on, they still played those balls long. We still challenged for those balls. We still won the aerial balls, and I think Helen played a huge role in that as well, because she came and assisted the defense in that, so they didn't have to deal with a lot of that balls behind. And I thought we dealt well with that. And when we were on the ball, we moved the ball around, played good one-to-touch football, got in behind them a few times, especially on the flanks, and I think that worked really well for us.
Congratulations, Coach Michael Walika from Sport. Coach, after that spirited performance, would you have preferred to play the Intercontinental as a first round of the qualifiers maybe tomorrow, or given now in the break between November, maybe gives you more time to look at what we can fix?
Look, I think it's there for a reason at that time. It's been a long, hard couple of weeks. The bodies have taken a toll. It's a good time to regroup again and go back. We also have a qualifier in October before that. We also have then the league restarting, because we only had 5 games. Probably that's the reason why we're not where we are as a team, And I think this next couple of months is going to be crucial in how we plan, how we prepare, because it's not just about that October match. We have a match before that, so that's all going to be part of the preparation. We play Madagascar in a qualifier for the Olympic Games, so that's the first point. And then we obviously have to look how we can strengthen the squad, how we can work on a few things that we need to work on, because as easy as it may seem, we get 5 days to work on defensive organization, attacking organization, set pieces, and finishing. It's not enough. Unfortunately, it's not enough. And hopefully we'll get a little bit more time to be able to, fix a couple of things. I thought as the tournament went on, we got better defensively as well. I thought we got better on the ball as well. Our final third still needs a little bit of work. We get into the final third, sometimes make the wrong decisions. I think there was a moment where we won the ball on the left, and Ronald took a shot, but we had 2 players on the right in very good positions if she plays it across. So still some of those things, because that only happens when you play together often. That only happens when you are together as often as you can be. And I think that will really help us going forward. But we'll wait until obviously the fixtures come out and then we can plan.
Thank you. Ed Dove from ESPN. Just first on Donnelly, she was maybe the kind of bright young thing a year ago. How do you evaluate her development over the last year as a person, as a player, this tournament? And what do you know about the format for the rest of the playoffs? Which of the teams are you worried about? Who are the main threats there for you looking to November, December and February?
Look, Renelle comes back from a very long-term injury. She's just come back, probably played 2 games, some minutes. But we felt that she would add value to the team. I think when we brought her last year, she showed some glimpses of that team. Now she's showed a little bit more. I think she can only develop more as a player. She's a fantastic human being. Sometimes we have to calm her down because she's very young, and she's a fantastic human being, but also eager to learn, eager to listen, eager to do things, and today I thought she played it all really well. I think we had the traditional short strikers, quick strikers, but we've shown in this tournament that we can change a bit, and I think both her and Isabella gives us that, where we can go long in the first ball, in the second ball, and then play from there. And I mean, our goal came from holding up the ball, so I think she can only develop. Her club now goes to the CAF Champions League, and I think she'll get a lot more game time. It's all about getting the minutes and the game time. She's just recovered from an injury that she picked up at last year's South Africa Champions League. So we're just happy to see her back, another young, bright potential, and hopefully she can get bigger and better and give us more.
And the question of the format about the
I'm not quite sure about the format. I've been reading, a little bit confused, but I made sure that I understand it. Like the rules here was a bit confusing, but I called people that I knew these things to make sure that I understand, to be able to give the information, because I think that was key. That was key to make sure that when we went into this, what we needed to do, how we needed to do it, etc. So I could speak to the team and make them understand. So once I know, I'm not sure if it's 2 groups, because it's 6 teams. You have Ecuador, you have Papua New Guinea, you have Chinese Taipei, you have Uzbekistan, obviously I have Ghana. So I know, doing my work, so I know, and ourselves. So we'll see how it goes, we'll draw, and then we'll plan it from there.
Hello, congratulations, coach. My name is Moshe Pell from Nigeria. I rep Super Sports, CCNG Sport podcast, and it's also Kawi Sport podcast as well. You said you didn't want to pass through this route when the tournament started, but congratulations because your team held Greece. I want to ask, I'm very curious, when you talk about how you set up for the Nigerian team, why was it such a layered and nuanced performance from your team? Because it almost felt like you had the Nigerian team playbook to a T, and it felt like your team was prosecuting a mandate that you've done your homework properly. That's question 1. Question 2, I've trained the studios. I trained to Tembi and Hilda, among others. Now that you have qualified, what would be the thing that you need most by way of support to keep the fulcrum of the squad together and give them the best opportunity to get to Brazil as is? Thank you very much.
We have 2 analysts in camp. They were very thorough, very thorough in how they analyzed them. We knew they're very direct. We knew that they were going to play the long ball, to play behind. We knew that is what they were going to do. And when you looked on the bench, they had some really good strikers. And we knew it was a time was going to come when they're going to bring on Gift, Romeo. It was a time when they're going to bring them on. We knew that Kano might play. A bit surprised that Rodrigo played though. But she gave us a bit of problems, especially in the second half. I thought Uchebe would play at centre back because they would have thought that we would have played Tembi at striker. But we didn't, of course. And, she's a fantastic player and then came on. We knew a lot of the balls are going to go long. Obviously, they brought Rashida inside instead of on the wing, but she's a fantastic footballer. I think she can play as 8. You know, I don't think they were on the ball enough in that areas to hurt us in the first half. In the second half, they were a bit more forward thinking because now they're chasing the game. But I think our analysts were spot on, and we got a lot of information from up there during the game as well, which was key. So we could give that information. I think what we cleverly did was to play Ronald and try to play someone just feed off her all the time. And sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't work. But our plan was to keep the fullbacks prudent, so that we don't get an overload on the sides. And I think that worked well until obviously we scored and then they had to push. But we obviously went into those spaces because Alozi and the other fullback, they regularly bombed up and overloaded. And that's why we went the way we went. And we said, if Hilda on the one side, Tembi on the one side, we win the ball and they're not there, play it into those spaces. So that's why we win that way.
Interesting.
We're going to take one last question at the back and we're going to close the press conference.
Alright, good. This is Victor Ademola for Ademola Sport.com from Nigeria. South Africa has now ended Nigeria's historic one of qualifying for every edition of the Women's World Cup. Do you see this as changing of the guard in African women's football, and what is about the level of the game in Africa?
Look, I've always said you cannot underestimate any team. Some of the best players that are here, we have not seen them for a while. Ivory Coast have fantastic players. Some of them play with Bongeka, our centre back. Temwa, everybody knows Temwa and Tabita. They also have Faith and Rose. Rose plays in France now, for Montpellier. So we've got some big players, and look at all the other teams. These players you see play in the big teams and the best teams in the world. But this is the first time that you see them all together at the tournament. And if you look at probably the best players around, there's been a lot of attacking players more than anything. The fantastic right back of Morocco as well. But you look at the players on it's attacking players, second to none. And I think the big clubs welcome Paulie. I think this is not just a WAFCON or African tournament anymore. I think people will come flocking to these tournaments to come and scout for the best players in the world, because we have the best players in the world on the continent. It's been proven in the clubs, and now it's been proven, at the tournament. And I think the tournament has gotten better and better. You look at 2018, you look at 2020 was cancelled, much to a disappointment, and because they had changed the tournament from 8 to 12, so that would have been just a rehearsal for the 2022 tournament, which was a World Cup qualifying tournament, and then we had to figure out how it worked, how it was going to work. Even that tournament, and last year you could see a lot of teams started pressing higher, played a lot more braver. This year the same thing, and a lot of teams were in camp a long time, a month. Morocco played like 9 friendlies. I think Cameroon had 2. I think Nigeria maybe had 1 or 2. But some countries were in camp for a month before camp started. Beginning of July, a lot of the countries were already in Morocco, so it shows that federations are starting to take it serious. And I think the question that you asked was, what will it take? I think you asked, what will it take? More time. We need more time. Because you can only work with a group of players and get something out of the group of players if you get more time. And probably, if we plan better going forward, because it's going to need everything that we have and everything that can be given to us to make sure that we get ready for this, because it's a long, hard road. We've just gone through this one, then there's the next one, to get through that one, then there's the final one. And if you don't plan and prepare properly, and the final one's in February, that will be a bit of challenge if we get through the November one, because we know it's off season. How are we going to prepare if it's off season? What time are we going to get if it's off season? So that's a lot of planning to be done already in advance, whether you go through the next round, because you have to look forward and plan forward. And I think if you look at the WAFCON that was supposed to be in March, I think a lot of players had gone and worked really hard. And it probably came at a difficult time where a lot of players are on off season. So a lot of players had to put in a lot of extra work. So if we plan properly, because we're going to go into, at that time, it's probably pre-season for a lot of clubs, especially in South Africa, and a lot of other clubs, pre-season. And you don't want to be caught in a position where you're not physically ready, where you're not mentally ready. So it's going to take a lot of planning to make sure, and going in November is towards the end of the season, tired bodies, tired legs, niggles, all of those things. So you're going to have to make sure, but once we get the fixtures, obviously, you can plan, but you also have to know when you're playing, what you're doing, when the games are. So you work backwards from the game, backwards, and how you plan and prepare.
That brings us to the end of our press conference. Thank you to the media. We're Coach